Good afternoon, you're watching HTV. It's sports time.
Bolton Wanderers, deposed leaders of the nationwide First Division, come to the county ground. Only a win against Swindon Town this afternoon will be good enough to put them back on the top of the table. Swindon, desperate to halt a run of 5 defeats in their last 6 matches, have been hit by injury problems and suspensions. And player-manager Steve McMahon missed the preparations for today's game because of family illness on Merseyside. The bookies make Bolton pre-match favourites. After all, they've beaten Premiership Chelsea and Spurs in the Coca-Cola Cup. 6 goals they scored in the last round as they quite literally took Spurs apart.
Steve McMahon, called away by a family illness, major responsibility for Swindon's preparation has fallen to his assistant Mike Walsh, although the players may not have noticed the difference.
We're similar in a lot of ways. We both think the same about football, although I don't agree with everything he says. I think he needs a bit of a sounding board. And I'm there for that. I give him a different perspective at times, but we get on great together. We enjoy the good times, and we'll be okay.
A bigger problem for Swindon has been the battle to get striker Peter Thorne fit to repeat the 2 goals he scored against Bolton in the first leg of the Coca-Cola Cup semi-final at the county ground 2 seasons ago. With Steve Finney also under treatment, the man standing by for a recall is Steve Coe, who will be hoping for a chance to reproduce the scoring form he showed against Queen's Park Rangers earlier this season.
A very good afternoon to you all, and it's certainly a raw one in Wiltshire, even though the sun is shining, as these 2 teams endeavour to steer their respective seasons back on course. Well, let's take a check on the Swindon team first, and Steve McMahon's options are restricted again today, with several regulars still missing, including his captain, the former Bolton defender Mark Seagraves. Kevin Horlock returns though today from World Cup duty with Northern Ireland. He plays at the back alongside Ian Culverhouse and Mark Robinson, with Mark Walters the main support then for the front 2, Steve Coe and leading goalscorer Wayne Allison. Peter Thorne and Steve Finney are both unfit, so is Ty Gooden. Scott Leach is suspended. The influence that Mark Walters might exert could be crucial then today. He's often revelled in this role, prompting the strikers this season, and at 32 still has the talent to exploit any defensive weakness. International commitments deprived Colin Todd of both Joey Taggart and Nathan Blake for Bolton's last game, the home defeat by Ipswich, but they're restored to the lineup this afternoon. Taggart returns in central defence with Gudni Bergson switching to right back, and Blake resumes his flourishing partnership up front with John McGinlay. In midfield, John Sheridan, signed from Sheffield Wednesday this week after a loan spell, has a starting role with Alan Thompson out with a foot injury. And there's a change in goal. Keith Brannigan has a hamstring problem, so Gavin Ward comes in. McGinley's finishing has been simply devastating this season. 17 goals so far, along with Oxford's Nigel Jemson and Mike Sheeran of Stoke. He's the First Division's leading scorer. Andy Durso is the man in charge today. He's from Billericay in Essex. At 33, one of the league's youngest referees. A bright day and a healthy crowd at the county ground, where Swindon's form has been in such contrast to their alarming away displays. 9 defeats out of 12 on their travels. But in front of their own supporters, well, they've had 7 victories and some useful scalps among them too. Bolton then to kick off in their white shirts, dark shorts, attacking the goal to our left. Their outstanding start has wavered in recent weeks. They've not won in 7 league matches now, but their incentive is clear enough today. Victory would lift them back to the top of the table, where they've been since mid-October. This is Watson for Swindon. Looking for Coe up front, Taggart the covering defender. Jimmy Greaves alongside me. It has the makings, Jim, of an outstanding game today.
It does indeed, actually. There's a very stiff breeze behind Bolton Wanderers in this first half. You don't actually quite realise how stiff it is, and one would expect a few long-range shots early doors.
It goes Franson, the Dane, with a determined tackle there. That's just how blustery it is this afternoon, and it's pretty cold up here in the commentary position, I can tell you. Wayne Allison.
Actually, I think it's colder on the field, but then they are running around there, hopefully, the lads.
Frederic Darras, the French defender, playing as a left wing back today. Not an unusual role for him. This is Bergson de Clear. Nathan Blake, policed by Robinson. Blake, who's been in excellent form himself up front alongside McGinlay. He's got 14, so 31 between them. And he looks a changed player this campaign. He's lost a bit of weight. He's very, very fast, very mobile now. And clearly a danger to Swindon this afternoon. A long ball from Darras. Taggart towering over Steve Coe, who's only around 5'8". This is Jimmy Phillips. Blake had shown for him. Robinson, who came across. Phillips. Here's Blake.
A little bit unfortunate there. He did it too near the referee, didn't he? Andy D'Urso was right on the spot there.
Well, he certainly used his body strength then, Nathan Blake.
It's something you can get away with when the ref's 30, 40 yards away, but unfortunately he was only 5.
Taggart. Played on by Sheridan tidily too. Here's Franson, who's having an excellent season in the midfield. If anything, the better of the two signings, Johansson and Franson, who've come from FC Copenhagen. Two real snips discovered by Colin Todd. Now this is Watson powering forward for Swindon. Allison, Coe there with him. Allison with a cross, appeal for handball, nothing given. Ball to arm, I think, there, rather than the other way round.
Well, I was going to say, I suppose the ball has to hit the hand first, and it didn't look like it at all. I don't actually think that this was any chance of being handball, really, was it? No.
Allison to Kevin Watson, the former Tottenham player. Now Franson, who possesses bags of energy, box to box. Allison's challenge in the air. That's certainly the strength of his game, Wayne Allison. Leads the attack in belligerent style. Wayne O'Sullivan keeping his place today. There had been a suggestion he might not have been in the lineup. A little confrontation there with Phillips. Really hard-working player, Wayne O'Sullivan. Walters taking the corner kick. Here's O'Sullivan. Now the young Irishman again, whipping over his cross, dealt with by Phillips, and it's Franson on the break. His compatriot Johansson ahead of him. Good anticipation though by Culverhouse. Swindon's sweeper today. Kerslake. Brave challenge then by Phillips on Coe. Here's McGinlay. And there's some history to the jeers for McGinlay from the Swindon fans. That date back to the League Cup semi-final a couple of seasons back. And McGinlay got involved with Mark Robinson. Robinson, I remember, was sent off. So he's not the most popular man at the county ground, John McGinlay. Staked by Watson, gifting possession to Franson. He has McGinlay to his left. Flag up for offside. Well, he's already been in the wars there. Johansson preferred in the starting lineup to David Lee.
That's a smack on the nose, isn't it? Little bit of blood, no problem.
Watson on from Horlock. Now O'Sullivan spreading the play to find David Kerslake. Teasing cross. Well, Allison to jump for. He's going to keep it in, or did he know it was gone behind?
It was a nicely hung cross by Kerslake there, though. He's reading the wind. He's laid it up, and the wind almost held it back in. It's amazing that players do have to adjust in a breeze like this when the ball's bouncing around as well. You have to adjust your game accordingly. Bolton are playing one way and Swindon another, and both will have to decide what way they're going to do it in the second half, but it will be different.
Here's Blake trying to turn Culverhouse, but the defender stuck to his task well.
It's a corner.
Chris Fairclough going forward, so is Jerry Taggart. Taggart, of course, who scored Northern Ireland's goal in that epic draw away to Germany recently. The greatest moment, he says, of my footballing career. Sellers taking the corner. Whipped away by Mark Robinson. Here's Coe. He's certainly fleet-footed. He's a nimble striker, in sharp contrast really to Wayne Allison. Really is the little and large show up there for Swindon. Peter Thorne, remember, out injured, so is Steve Finney. So Steve McMahon's options have been limited today. Here's Allison now, linking well with O'Sullivan. Coe. Now Kerslake, whose loan spell from Tottenham has just been extended into a second month. Darras. Could be Bergson, the defender for Bolton. Yeah, going through this lean spell at the moment. Just 5 points out of their last 21, their worst run of the season. But certainly from what I've seen of them so far, they've been the best footballing side in the division. Jimmy, I think you may well go along with that.
Yes, I would go along with that, Peter. It's one of those periods for Bolton where they've got to have a good look at themselves, collect themselves and get on the right track. Every team, we all know, goes through this phase at one stage or another throughout the season. But Bolton are too good to let it drift, I think.
Here's Robinson. Wide of him, Kerslake. Not really found their rhythm so far, Swindon. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games in the league. And of course, they've had to play away from home so often. And Steve McMahon's not too pleased, I think, with the fixture computer. On by Sheridan. Blake's touch. Read there by Horlock. Now it's Watson, former Tottenham reserve team captain. Kerslake, who hasn't really had a look in at White Hart Lane under Jerry Francis. This is Taggart being pressurised by O'Sullivan. He certainly covers a lot of ground, Wayne O'Sullivan. Republic of Ireland under-21 international. This is Sellers. Now Phillips. McGinlay trying to release Nathan Blake, but Robinson was there. Sellers. Good hustling there by Watson. Kerslake. His second spell, of course, with Swindon.
Allison caught just offside there, which he was by about a yard.
Here's Scott Sellers. Does bring imagination to Bolton's approach play. Indeed, there's plenty of guile in the midfield with Sheridan and Sellers, as well as the drive of Fratson. Johansson. His pass has gone astray, though. Collected here by Ian Culverhouse, the former Norwich man. Good vision shown by him. Dallas chasing with Bergson, and Ward has to clear. Gavin Ward, it's only his second appearance of the season, coming in at the last minute here for Keith Brannigan, and it's a great opportunity for him to stake a claim for a regular place, with Brannigan having dropped 1 or 2 wickets recently. But officially he is out today with a hamstring injury. Coe just found that bit of room on the edge of Bolton's box. Now Johansson can clear only as far as Dallas. Fratson, McGinlay. On by Sheridan. This is promising for Bolton. Phillips to Sellers. Fine block by Robinson.
Yeah, he took a bit too much time there, Scott Sellers, to tee that up, but that's the idea, I think. You've got to get a couple of shots in from 20-25 yards with this breeze behind you. Test the goalkeeper.
Well, he has been showing his best form of late, Scott Sellers, signed of course from Newcastle. Allison now holding off Taggart. It's going to be a fascinating contest between those two heavyweights, I think. Kerslake to Allison again. Now O'Sullivan. Allison continuing his run. Out comes Ward to smother the pass.
Yeah, well read by Ward. He had that covered all the way from the minute the ball left the foot.
Fratson turned away from Waters. Delightfully so too. Johansson to Goodney Bergson. Now Chris Fairclough. His experience has been so invaluable to Bolton. And Hall settling for the goal kick. This is Mark Robinson. Now Watson. Good closing down from Bolton on Allison. Just wouldn't let him turn there. Sellers. Oh, such an inventive pass to pick out McGinlay. Johansson now trying to tee it up. Still might. McGinlay! Swindon protesting there that the offside flag should have been up. I don't think it was. McGinlay with a snapshot in the air, but some good work from Johansson.
This was the best move of the match so far, wasn't it? The ball was well played. McGinlay really tame effort by his standards, but that was really about the first decent move we've had all game.
Some pushing from Wayne Allison. McGinlay looking so sharp this season. Not only for his club, for his country too, of course. He scored a winner for Scotland in the recent World Cup game against Sweden.
Yes, which begs the question, should he still be playing in First Division football? Is he not a Premier League player?
Well, he hopes to be again next season. Is the answer, I suppose.
Well, I suppose so, yeah.
Free header for Watson. Now it's Kerslake. Steve McMahon, I think, is keen to bring Kerslake back to the county ground on a permanent basis, but it's a question of finance, really. They haven't got too much money to spend, Swindon. A quarter of an hour gone, and here's Watson for Swindon. Kerslake. Crowded out there by Scott Sellers. Some determined defending here by Bolton again. Good layoff from Coe to Kerslake. Waters in space. Hasn't really influenced the game so far. This is Steve Coe taking on Phillips. Chance for O'Sullivan, but the whistle had already gone for the foul on the edge of the box. Looking lively there, Steve Coe. former Aston Villa player. He didn't make the breakthrough at Villa Park, but he's getting his opportunities now with Swindon Town.
Well, with the wind against them, you would expect Mark Walters to get a nice little bit of swerve on it.
Or maybe Kevin Horlock, who can also be dangerous from here.
Yeah.
I remember him hitting the bar a couple of weeks back in the game at Birmingham.
But this is a situation where the wind will help you move that ball in all different directions.
Horlock, the number 3, alongside Mark Walters. Horlock, who's captaining Swindon today. He's left it for Mark Walters, and he's curled it just over the top. But at least Bolton were extended defensively then by the run earlier from Steve Coe.
Yes, he did well. He battled through, didn't he? And it's a pretty standard, ordinary free kick in the end, isn't it? That nothing happens to it.
Mark Walters, who came on a free transfer from Southampton. His career really has picked up again here. A new lease of life for him, really. Into his 30s. Laid off by Sheridan. Now Fairclough. Bolton seeking their 4th away win in the league today. They've lost only twice on their travels. Of course, they were beaten at home, that shock defeat by Ipswich. Their first at Burnden Park this season a week ago. Culverhouse, an excellent pass by him. Here's Dallas, options ahead of him. Won't fall for Coe. Phillips able to clear. Mark Robinson. A good tackle back by Blake.
Was
working very hard, Bolton.
Yeah.
Blake now with McGinlay through the centre. Kevin Horlock out there with him, and he was firm and decisive with the tackle. McGinlay, who will certainly be a marked man this afternoon. Johansson teasing Daras. Horlock. That was cool defending. Allison, he's been, I think, Horlock, Swindon's best player over the past couple of months. Whatever role he's filled, very much a utility player. Certainly a part of the Northern Ireland setup. He featured in the win over Albania as well as the 1-1 draw in Germany. Jimmy Phillips. Blake. Now Sellers. Cautious probing by Bolton, but it's come to nothing.
Well, they're keeping possession of the ball and they're working it around. They're obviously trying to break the Swindon defence down, but they've looked pretty solid so far.
There's one for Allison to chase in his marauding style. 8 goals so far this season, 20 of course in the last campaign when he was Swindon's top marksman. Test in the air for Robinson, which he was up for. But now it's Sellers. Sheridan. Casual pass though, straight to Dallas. Now it's Kevin Horlock. Walters. Slipped by Fairclough, which has gone unpunished, and the referee says no foul. Did seem to me that he was impeded there.
Well, it was one of those where Fairclough miskicked the ball totally, and then it all happened. So it was him. It did impede him. There's no question about that.
Mark Robinson looking for the run from O'Sullivan. Now it's Sellers again. Franson. Looks a real athlete, doesn't he? Johansson, Franson again. McGinley's in the middle. And some rather nervous defending then by Swindon, and that looked to be a pass back. The referee, I think, has given that. Fraser Digby complaining, but they were very, very shaky then under pressure, Swindon.
Well, Franson's knocked the ball in, and McGinlay hasn't gone for it. You can see the situation, and yes, you could argue the referee was right. It was certainly advantageous to Swindon, wasn't it?
Mark Robinson was the offender after the miss kick from Culverhouse. I think it was deceived by the bounce.
It was one of those awkward ones, but you have to say that it was advantage to Swindon. There was no advantage to Bolton in it, so I think it was a fair decision.
Well, how's this for a scene? It's like a team photo, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Look at that.
Well, won't be smiling Swindon if this goes in.
It'll be a grand charge. It'll be one. Here we go. Oh, there
it's
we are.
Franson.
Yeah.
They'll threw themselves into his path. Phillips now to drive it back in. Wide of goal. An escape for Swindon. There was some brave defending there as they got bodies in the way.
It was the grand charge, this, wasn't it? Go on, lads, well played. Might have been handball, actually.
Yeah, Horlock.
It's surprising it was handball, you have to say that, but excusable that the decision wasn't given. It's actually quite difficult to score from those situations, believe it or not. I know people think that you should score, but it is not very easy to get the ball in the back of the net from that particular point.
As Bolton will testify. Sheridan. That was Wayne Allison snapping into the tackle.
Actually, it was interesting, though, that it was handball, wasn't it, by Horlock? They got away with it.
Blake. Up by Sellers. In goes Taggart with Coe. The referee says, play on.
I'm not sure about that one. Think I'd be a bit fed up if I hadn't have got a free kick for that, but there you are.
Kerslake. Culverhouse, he'll be a relieved man. After that free kick came to nothing. It was his miss kick that led to it. The throw taken quickly by Kerslake. Walters now. Allison at the far post. Good turn by Walters! Only inches wide. Great piece of play there by Mark Walters. Deserved better reward.
Yes, it was a lovely bit of football by Mark Walters. Walters at his best here, isn't it? Class turn, good shot, good save, actually. I booked it as a save.
It was agonisingly close.
It's a lovely bit of football from Walters, though, wasn't it? Beautiful tight turn, good control.
Not far away there from his 6th goal of the season. The game beginning to liven up now. This is Fairclough.
It is, because it was a pretty ordinary start, wasn't it?
Well, they are two teams capable of producing some excellent football, and they're beginning to do so now. Blake trying to batter his way through. Here's Coe. Now Kerslake. Taggart tangling with Allison. A cushion headed out by Sellers to Franson. And it was Walters to tidy up at the back then for Swindon, having certainly threatened to create damage at the other end. Poor clearance by Robinson, went straight to Franson. This is Blake.
Good ball, good idea by Blake, that. Franson's beginning to run things a little bit in the middle of the field, isn't he?
Yes, he looks strong and powerful per Franson.
He's actually come into it in the last 5 minutes, and Bolton have looked a lot better side.
Culverhouse to Watson. They nearly got themselves into difficulties there, Swindon. Dallas taking the throw. Horlock. This is Watson. Rather ambitious pass. Now Gudni Bergson, who's happier playing in the centre of that back line, but having a switch to the right with the return of Taggart today. Sheridan. Now Robinson for Kerslake. Swindon have lost 3 times at home in the league, 1 draw, those 7 wins. But they really have struggled away from the county ground. Watson's pass, seized on by Dadas. Good ball. O'Sullivan. Good football from Swindon here. Now can they make it count? Kerslake. 3 in the centre. Kerslake's chip. Allison. Rather off balance, and he could make no more of it.
It's a well-meant chip by Kerslake again. He's dinking them in there, using the wind just a little bit off. You can see how he dinked that in with the outside of his foot. And Allison was a bit unlucky not to get there, really.
Nathan Blake. Turning Robinson, slipped on to McGinlay, but the flag is up for offside.
Ooh.
Pretty close, Jim.
Well, I think it was pretty close, but then I always think they're close when a striker's running through on goal and he gets given offside. But I don't think there was any question about it. You're absolutely right. Well done, the assistant referee, linesman, or whatever over there.
Right first time. You're not too keen on that term, are you? Here's Walters. Almost found space for himself. He's coming more into things now, Mark Walters.
Yes, he is. He's looking dangerous. No, getting back to that, I think certain things in the game should remain traditional, Peter, like scoring goals and things like that.
So for you, there'll always be linesmen. Walters
Yes.
to O'Sullivan. Crossed by Kerslake. And in the end, no problem for Gavin Ward.
I can't work out the Swindon idea there of that corner. You may just as well get the ball in. You're playing a short corner, 2 players, totally isolated, and it just breaks down.
Well won by Robinson. Former Newcastle player who began his career with West Brom a few seasons back now. And he's been a regular in the Swindon team. That came off Coe to Watson. And a foul surely by Sellers. Well, the referee allowing Swindon the advantage, which Kerslake is taking up for them now. Kept in by Dadas. Now it's Horlock. Well, they weren't too tight on Coe then, but he couldn't take advantage. Sellers intelligently laid off then to Jimmy Phillips.
Oh, good tackle.
Well played, Mark Robinson. Commendable commitment shown by Wayne O'Sullivan as well.
Yes, there's a bit of bite, isn't there, in 1 or 2 departments.
Taggart having to scurry back with Allison. Ward committed out of his goal. That was composed work then from Taggart. Free kick given to both. Mike Walsh in charge of Swindon this afternoon with Steve McMahon on the match. Swindon's chairman, incidentally, Mike Spearman, has asked us on behalf of the club to pass on his best wishes to Steve. He's watching the game, I know, at home on TV. He's looking after his wife, who's not been too well. Let's hope she makes a swift recovery, and that, of course, comes from us as well. What do you think Steve will be thinking at the moment, Jim, about his team's display?
Well, I hope he's thinking, well, there's dear old Jim and Pete up in the commentary box. I'll hope they get a cup of tea at half-time. I suppose that's what he might be thinking. At the moment, he's got to be satisfied. Swindon are playing the game according to their rules. Bolton are playing it according to theirs. It is even, Stephen. It can go any way at the moment. There's been some decent football played by both sides.
Phillips taking his time over this throw. Taking an eternity. Blake playing for the corner off Culverhouse. I think it is a corner too. So Scott Sellers will take this kick. Taggart being posted forward. Fairclough advancing as well. So there's a real aerial threat for Swindon to contend with. Horlock's header, then Watson. Here's Robinson. Watson turned back into trouble in the shape of McGinlay. No real venom in the shot. Maybe other options open to McGinlay there, which he didn't accept.
I think Blake is certainly having a go at McGinlay, saying the ball could have come to me, and he did have a case, actually, did Nathan Blake.
Culverhouse. Horlock. Might fall for Allison here. Now, Walters. Oh, clever chip! Brilliant goal! Such a quick piece of thinking then from Mark Walters. And that was a goal of sheer class. "33 minutes gone, Swindon have the lead. And that was a brilliant individual goal from Mark Walters.
It's a beautiful goal. It's a great chip. You cannot fault the goalkeeper. He had to come. The goalkeeper had to come out to narrow the angle. Mark Walters read it, and that is a perfect chip. Absolute perfection. What a superb goal.
A moment to savour at the county ground. Mark Walters with his 6th goal then of the campaign. And I doubt he scored a better one than that.
Well, I always think it's a great goal when you can't fault the goalkeeper and the player concerned has done everything right, and that was certainly applied in that case, didn't it? Superb goal, that.
A goal that really came out of nothing too.
It actually came out of some very strong Swindon Town tackling, and they were getting stuck in, and they actually won about 3 tackles on the trot. And then it fell to Walters, and you suddenly saw that wonderful piece of skill. But it was really tough football by Swindon that won the ball in the first place.
I guess their persistence paid off. Bolton unhinged. Ward called off his line by that piece of improvisation from Mark Walters. But back come Bolton now as Bergson heads wide. Well, he can be a frustrating player, Mark Walters. You never quite know what you're going to expect from him. Steve McMahon is the first to tell you that.
Well, the one thing you do know about Mark Walters is he has a considerable range of skills, and this sums it all up, really, doesn't it?
In off the crossbar with the goalkeeper stranded.
Took the ball on well there, and, well, it speaks for itself now.
Phillips.
While we were talking about the Walters goal, Bergson had a header at the other end that I thought he could have done better with, to be perfectly honest, and it went tamely wide, and Bergson's on the ball now.
Horlock. With McGinlay in attendance. Franson. Sheridan with O'Sullivan, who again was the more determined figure there. Free kick to Swindon now. And a foul by Fairclough. Fairclough marking Steve Coe with tackled on Allison.
Well, Coe was a bit too quick for him there, actually. That's what caused the foul.
Well, he's got bags of pace, Steve Coe. I know Steve McMahon thinks very highly of him. And potentially he could prove to be a very astute signing. Maybe needs a decent run in the team, and there's been a fair bit of competition earlier in the season.
He's certainly playing well today.
Johansson, now Fratson. His Danish teammates, offside, McGinlay. Didn't read that situation too well. Setting off too early. But I like the look of this fellow, Per Fratson.
Yeah, I actually think McGinlay was running off the ball then, not expecting it. I think he was trying to create space for somebody going wider than McGinlay. Fratson didn't actually have the option.
Mark Walters is actually suffering at the moment. He's got an injury which does seem to be impeding him. So we'll hope that's not too serious.
Well, he started to limp actually after he scored the goal. Maybe he stubbed his toe in the pitch as.
It's a thigh strain, I'm hearing. This is Fratson now looking to battle his way through again. Johansson, whose form has dipped a little bit lately. Maybe he's played more games than he's used to. Coming from Copenhagen, where they don't play twice a week too often. Fairclough. Good intervention by Watson. He's got some useful tackles in today, Kevin Watson. But here's Fratson again. I think they're trying to persuade Walters to stay on till half-time.
Yeah, he is struggling though.
Nathan Blake.
There's no question about the Walters situation. I think he will go off. It's whether he can stay on till half-time or not. But he is struggling.
Yeah, they're getting Alex Smith ready to come on.
Yeah.
7 minutes or so to the halfway stage. Oh, what a blow for Swindon. The man whose goal divides the two teams. And he's provided the most inspired moment for the first half so far, no question about that. Watson. Now it's Kevin Horlock. Allison calling in the centre. Watson switching the play again. This time to Kersley. Now Allison. Kersley clashing with Sheridan. And the break's on for Bolton here. Johansson was indecisive.
It's well read by Culverhouse, though, wasn't it?
Yes, he does read the game very well at Culverhouse.
He does, actually.
Not so long ago, of course, he was playing in Europe with Norwich.
Yeah, I was always surprised that not casting aspersions on Swindon, but I was surprised he came here.
Well, here's a substitution. A sad sight this for Swindon, as Walters has to go off. Replaced by young Alex Smith, who Steve McMahon brought to the club from one of his former clubs, Everton. As Walters limping off down the tunnel.
Well, he must be a bit sad about it, Mark Walters, but at least he's made his mark on the game, hasn't he?
Free kick here to Swindon, who have the edge, thanks to Mark Walters. Not too many genuine opportunities for either team in this first half. Not too many players would have made much of the one he had, really.
Well, no, it wasn't an opportunity, was it? It was an opportunity to shoot, but that's about all it was.
The long ball from Kevin Horlock towards Allison. Chested down with some power then. Here's Kersley, who gives Swindon good balance down the right side. Now it's Robinson to Watson. Alex Smith came on as a sub last week at Stoke. And looks a player of much potential. Got a good left foot. Says this fellow, Scott Sellers. And the pass threaded wide by Johansson to find Jimmy Phillips. Swinging over his cross. It's dealt with though by Horlock. Confirmation from the dressing room, it is a thigh strain that has caused Mark Walters to take no further part in the game. Here's Johansson now. Blake lurking in the centre, but Digby pouring it out of the air. No problem. Now releasing David Kerslake. And the initiative at the moment is with the home team, Swindon Town.
It's a rare old battle going on between these two, isn't there?
Taggart and Allison. Taggart's come out on top, slipping it through. No room for error there from Robinson against the pace of Nathan Blake. I remember him showing some blistering pace at Molineux earlier in the season against Wolves.
Yes. Didn't he just?
Can't allow him any room. And his confidence has been high again, Nathan Blake. Good work from Phillips. Off goes Sheridan now. Blake's ahead of him, so is McGinlay here. Laid off for Sheridan. Plenty of power, but no accuracy from the Republic of Ireland international. Cost £180,000 from Sheffield Wednesday this week after he had a successful loan spell.
Yes, if you're going to have a shot, you've got to try and get it on target, obviously. With this wind behind, at least it's got to be on the spot. Make the goalkeeper work.
No reflection on Sheridan, but I think Bolton are going to miss Alan Thompson, who's been playing so well in midfield for them.
Yeah. He made a lot of things work for Bolton, didn't he, Thompson?
Well, they've had goal attempts today, but not really extended Fraser Digby too often. Sellers on for McGinlay. Aggressive tackle by Robinson.
They are quick in the tackle at times. I mean, it's a Steve McMahon trademark, this, isn't it?
Well, he came on last week for a while at Stoke. Steve McMahon, although he's not fully fit, he's got so many injuries, he had to bring himself on and, to put it mildly, put himself about Jim.
Well, I was going to say, if Steve's injured, he's going to make sure a few others are, isn't he?
Sorry, Steve. But he influenced the game, I'll tell you that too. Now, Smith with a shooting chance. Didn't really hit it with any conviction, though. Just 20, Alex Smith, former Everton trainee. Sellers. Blake. That was Phillips, and that was hopeful.
Was hopeful, wasn't it, that one?
He's under a bit of pressure at the moment, Jimmy Phillips. He's been an ever-present this season, but they have Brian Small on the bench today, the former Aston Villa fullback, and I think maybe Colin Todd is thinking might be time for a change there. Phillips, who's in his second spell with the club, of course. Phillips to Taggart. Bolton keen to get the ball down and play. Here's Sheridan now. The football was always neat and tidy, Bolton, but so far today lacking any real penetration. Scott Sellers delivering the cross. Away by Horlock. He clearly isn't troubled by playing at the back, Horlock. Maybe they miss his influence in midfield, Swindon, but he's having a steady game back there.
He's playing very well. Swindon have looked good. They've looked right. They've competed well. They're one up, obviously, which always helps. But you can't argue against their performance this half. They've done extremely well.
The half-time whistle is blown, and it's a 45 minutes that Swindon can look back on with more relish, certainly, than Bolton. And that one inspired piece of play from Mark Walters that separates the two teams. Walters no longer taking part in the game, having had to limp off injured. So Alex Smith on for him. Bolton, I think, will have to pick up their ideas a bit in the second half if they are to seriously attempt to change this game around. That's the half-time situation then at the county ground. Swindon on top at this stage, leading Bolton by a goal to nil.
Mike Walsh, that was a super goal, but Walters got injured doing it. That must be a big blow to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed the game for us now a little bit. It gives Alex a chance to come on and see what he can do. He's a tricky little player, but as you say, a super goal, and that's the difference between the two sides.
The other difference might have been a penalty, actually. Horlock looked as if he handled it, making that brave save from the free kick.
Well, it's 2 yards off him and the ball just hits him. I mean, you don't mean to put your hands there. And I'd like to see the back pass one again as well. I thought he'd come off his knee, but I might be wrong on that one. But overall, we're delighted the way it's going. Just got to do more the same.
Thank you.
Yes, so far so good then for Swindon, who once again have reminded us that here at the county ground, they're a match for anyone in this division. They've got some very useful home results so far, beating the likes of Barnsley indeed, Manchester City, Oxford, they've all gone down here. Wolves, I remember, losing in the League Cup. So clearly they are a match for any side at this level. It's a bitterly cold afternoon now as the sun starts to dip a bit. Greavesy and I are putting our coats up around us, but what have you made of it so far, Jim?
Well, it's very much an even game, isn't it? What I said at the start of the game now applies. Bolton will have to adjust a little bit because they're against the stiff breeze. Swindon will have to play slightly differently. They can play the ball a lot longer, obviously, because the wind will carry it into the Bolton half that much easier. But it's a very even game so far.
So Swindon then to start the second half. Bolton, of course, who had a flying start to the season. They won 9 of their first 12 league games, but it's turned sour for them lately. Injuries and suspensions have taken their toll. First free kick of the half going Bolton's way, and this is Per Franson. A man you feel is certainly capable of making things happen for them. Chipping through for Blake. No offside. One or two indignant looks then from Swindon defenders towards the linesman.
You see, Franson used the wind very well there. He wouldn't have been able to play that ball in the first half. It would have just run away from Blake. It held up and Blake wasn't far away from it.
In goes O'Sullivan. Doesn't fall for Coe. Thanks to the urgent defending there by Bolton. So Franson, who's won his place back in the Danish team on the strength of his form for Bolton. Away by Horlock. Robust challenge as ever from Allison. Now here's Steve Coe. Taking on Fairclough. Dangerous ball whipped over, but beyond Allison in the middle.
Yeah, he looks a bit lively, does Coe, doesn't he? He latched onto that ball very quickly while Bolton were looking around at each other. Not a bad cross either.
3 goals from Coe earlier in the season, but he hasn't managed one now since September the 21st. Off Garas, then Goodney Bergson to hoist it forward. O'Sullivan. Allison was offside. I think that was correct then.
Yeah, good decision.
Allison had his back to the linesman, but he had wandered off. Culverhouse taking no chances there with this difficult wind. But that'll be a free kick now to Swindon. Phillips the culprit. Wayne Allison the innocent party. There's a real abrasive edge to his game, Allison. And a fine goal-scoring record down the years. Forward by Culverhouse. In goes Smith. Caught in possession there by Franson. Taggart. Now Sellers. Off goes Jimmy Phillips. McGinlay in the middle, so is Blake. Oh, it was a light short then, the back pass. A little lucky to get away with that. Now Sheridan's given it away too cheaply. Allison to Watson. Again, Swindon looking to use the width of the park. Alex Smith. Robinson's cross, too close to Taggart, but then Coe nipping in! and denied a goal by the reflexes of Gavin Ward. Some sloppy work at the back from Taggart, and it was very nearly punished by Coe.
But some sharp work by Coe. He is looking sharp. That's a good save.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look as though you can give Coe much room, does it?
Well, Taggart was extremely hesitant, and he very nearly paid for it. McGinlay back defending. This is Kevin Watson. Now Daras with the cross. Cleared by Fairclough. O'Sullivan hitting his own man there, Mark Robinson. And away come Bolton on the break, but not for long. Goodney Bergson to Franson. Support from John Sheridan. Now Johansson. This is tidy play by Bolton. Sheridan's cross. Blake didn't really get a decisive touch on it though, as he arrived on the scene. Smith losing out. Franson working it forward again. Horlock can't get it away. Off goes Coe. Looking to accelerate past Fairclough, but he stayed with him then. The Bolton defender using all his experience to cope with the situation. But Swindon had the throw. And they had the advantage, albeit by a slender 1-goal margin. Mark Walters in the first half. Sadly for Swindon, having to limp off at half-time. Before the break, indeed. Away by Taggart. Only as far, though, as Horlock. This is Allison. Now Watson. On for Allison again. Shrugging off the challenge from Fairclough, and it spins away for the corner.
Yeah, that's a nice piece of work by Allison, wasn't it? He's not an easy man to knock off the ball. And the idea was right. He lined himself up. He's arguing the toss, but it was a good shot, and he's won a corner.
And now he will hope to make his aerial presence count. Long ball from Horlock, just too long for Allison. But he's a real hatful in the air. Menacing on the ground too for that. Horlock's throw. This is Coe. Disrupted then by John Sheridan. Bolton are going to make a substitution. I think it's Johansson.
And Sheridan gets a booking.
Yep, caution for
Little
John Sheridan.
bit of back chat, I think.
Here's Watson with the free kick. It was McGinley's header away. Off goes Johansson, who's tripped in.
Yes.
By Smith. And the referee will want a word with him, and maybe we'll show him the yellow card.
Oh, I think it's a definite yellow card. You can't argue with that. No danger.
Bergson will take the free kick. Still, the sunlight is strong here. Coe. Now Smith taking over. O'Sullivan. Forcing it wide to Kerslake. Sheridan. The Sellers. The counter-attack being launched now by Bolton. 3 ahead of him, McGinlay. Confronted, and in the eyes of the referee, fairly so, by Frederick Daras.
Yeah, it was a good decision, that. That was a clash. No intent.
This is Phillips. Bolton want to bring on Scott Green, but they've had no opportunity to do so. Jerry Taggart. Here's Blake. Hasn't really had too many chances to show his explosive pace, but that's a decent ball in from McGinlay, who had escaped the marking. Good crunching tackle then by Dallas.
Yeah, that was a nice bit of skill, wasn't it, by Nathan Blake?
Franson with the cross. Beyond Sellers. Now O'Sullivan. Rather aimlessly forward. Fairclough down to Bergson. As Bolton endeavour to lift their game and maybe stretch Swindon a little more. McGinlay clashing with Horlock. And the decision going Swindon's way. So Scott Green to replace Michael Johansson.
Well, nobody's taken any notice of what's going on. Oh, yes, they just discovered now.
Johansson, who was preferred then, as I was saying earlier, to David Lee. Lee not among the substitutes today. Jamie Pollock, the former Middlesbrough man, is on the bench. And so is this man, Scott Green. And he's going to slot in down the right side. Normally plays it right back. Johansson, I think in fairness, Jimmy, hadn't really made an impact today.
No, he hasn't. He's found it very difficult.
I've certainly been more impressed with his compatriot Franson.
Yes, I think Franson's the one man who can get Bolton at it. If he gets involved in the game, Bolton look a different side. He's on the ball now.
Culverhouse. Now Dallas. This is Horlock measuring his pass for Allison. He remains a constant source of irritation to those Bolton defenders. With his power and his persistence, Colin Todd will want more from his team now. They really aren't examining Swindon defensively often enough. O'Sullivan's cross. Here's Kevin Horlock. Watson. Allison in the centre. Can't reach him though, as Blake clears away. Robinson with the tackle. And then Watson. Now it's Coe. O'Sullivan in space inside him. An opportunity wasted there.
It was, because if Coe looks up, he can find his man quite comfortably, and his man's on his own.
Smith. Culverhouse to Horlock. Swindon looking to tighten the screw, but they won't do it that way. Dreadful mistake then by Horlock, gifting possession to Franson, and he was rescued by the anticipation of Ian Culverhouse.
Well, they had an opportunity to break Swindon down there, Bolton, didn't they? They had 3 against 2. And Franson really made a pig's ear of it.
Here's Sellers. Trying to link up with Nathan Blake. Dallas, a curious header. Allison. Now he's given it away to Sellers. Well, we certainly aren't out of this match yet. Good handling though by Smith. Delicate little chip. Allison. Bergson's back pass. Oh, nearly put Gavin Ward in all sorts of trouble.
That was more of a shot than a back pass, wasn't it? Did quite well there, Ward, actually.
I think he took it by surprise. Dallas. That's an easier one.
It was easier, actually. Dealt with that one comfortably.
Softer, please, softer. Jerry Taggart. Blake. Got away then from Robinson. McGinley's in the middle. Nathan Blake. And it's gone in. Well, how on earth did he squeeze it in from there?
Well, it looks as though it's come off of Fraser Digby. Odd goal from up here. We can't really see, but it looks as though Blake's fired it in low. It's hit Digby and gone in. It'll be interesting to see whether that is the result as we saw it. I felt he should have crossed it there and then, Nathan Blake, but he's gone on, he's taken it again round past, and oh no, it's a goal by
Scott Green.
Scott Green.
So the substitution.
What a substitution that is.
Well, it's a curious goal, but it's brought Bolton right back into things now. Blake seemed to have taken it too far.
It was a curious goal because none of us knew what had happened, and Green crept in and got what you would call a striker's goal. Green remonstrating again there, and I think he had a point when the ball was kicked. I don't think he was offside, but here you can see Blake comes across and Green's in there. A lovely striker's goal from a fullback.
His first of the season to bring his team level. In truth, they hadn't been threatening that often, Bo.
Well, it looked as though Blake had actually messed it up. He had an opportunity earlier to cross it, and you thought, well, he's got himself in trouble now, nothing's going to happen. Suddenly he worked it across, and there was Green. A knee job.
And how grateful we all were for the replay. How did they manage in the past?
Just told lies, Pete. We have to be a bit more accurate now.
Garas with the throw then for Swindon. We have to show their character again. O'Sullivan, Watson, and now Culverhouse. Thoughtful football from Swindon. Just past the hour mark now. David Kersley trying to slip it on for Coe, but Taggart was there. Casual ball from McGinlay.
Well, reiterating what we said at half-time, it was very much an even game, and you couldn't rule Bolton out of it. And they're back in it now. And really, Swindon have done nothing wrong. They haven't been lax. They've been strong in defence, strong in the tackle. Just a goal out of the blue.
On by McGinlay to Blake. Here's McGinlay again. Faced by Horlock. Did well to hold him off. Now Sheridan. Here's Bergson. The Icelandic international. And the ball safely back from Swindon's point of view with Fraser Digby. I'm sure he was stunned by the goal as we were. First choice again now for Swindon, having taken over the senior jersey from Frank Talia, the Australian, who'd been in goal for the early matches. Just too long for Allison and for Coe as well. Kevin Ward deputising then today for Keith Brannigan. Horlock. This is Sheridan. Bolton beginning to show more belief in themselves now, not surprising really after the goal, which was pumped fresh life into their legs.
Well, with the ball coming up at half pace to them, with the wind holding it up, it is definitely easier for your front two, i.e. Blake and McGinlay.
This is Franson trying to combine with McGinlay. There was no flag for offside.
There wasn't.
Swindon remonstrating with the linesman, but he was adamant there was nothing wrong there.
No, and I think McGinlay will be extremely disappointed with his poor control there, because he was through.
Fairclough. Bolton visibly revitalised. Blake. Too close though to Fraser Digby. Now it's Smith. No, his control was untidy.
Franson bringing the ball on here, and he'd be disappointed with that, will McGinlay?
Here come Bolton again. Nathan Blake. Away from Smith. Bending it in. Digby had to fist it out. Didn't seem to be too much of a problem there for the goalkeeper, but it was bending viciously.
Well, this is it. The old wind now playing its tricks. He did the right thing, didn't he, Digby? Good goalkeeping.
Sellers with the corner. It's a different Bolton now.
It really is, isn't it?
Taggart is forward. Didn't reach it though, thanks to the attentions of Wayne Allison. Here's Franson. Phillips bumping it rather hopefully forward. Kerslake underneath it. Jimmy Phillips, who'd come across that for Bolton. Allison. Kerslake. This is Watson. Coe stretching. Don't think that's really going to be his forte though. Reaching balls in the air.
No, I think he needs it on the deck, where he can get a little run on the defence, because he is nippy. I don't think waiting for crosses like that's going to be, as you say, Pete, too advantageous for him.
But it's certainly an even contest now. Only Wolves, West Brom and Portsmouth have won here in the league this season. Bolton will be hoping to follow them now. Here's Fratson. Phillips. Scott Green making a decent run. No, the flag was up. It wouldn't have counted, but he clattered into Dallas, but the flag was already being raised.
Yes, the linesman, assistant referee. I can't see how that was offside personally. Digby read it totally wrong. He'll be relieved anyway. It didn't look offside.
Well, he
though.
has certainly made his presence felt, hasn't he, since coming on. Scott Green.
A bit of an inspired substitution actually, because when Johansson went off, you thought, well, what's Green going to do? Where's he going to play? How's he going to adapt? And so far he's scored a goal, could have scored another couple.
Well, he's certainly regarded as a utility player, Scott Green. He's been in the club for a few years now. He came from Derby back in 1990, Green. Oh dear, and it was Digby colliding with his own player then, Frederick Dallas.
If I was Darras, I mean, he's obviously not feeling too good at the moment.
Came from Bastia on a 3-year deal, Frederick Dallas. But he made his name really with Auxerre, the double winners in France. Had over a decade with them.
You don't actually think that you're going to be done by your goalkeeper in that position, do you? But he's in a bit of distress, that's for sure.
So Gary Elkins now preparing to come on, it would seem, for Swindon, former Wimbledon player.
Looks as though he caught that in the ribs, didn't it?
He's being stretched off, clearly in distress. And as he's been playing in the wide wing-back role down the left, it'll be a straight substitution. That, of course, is where Elkins plays. Well, let's hope that's not too serious for Dallas.
One would hope not. It seemed as though it was Digby's knee that caught him. Let's hope that everything's all right.
On comes Gary Elkins, a former member of the Crazy Gang. A lot of experience in the Premier for Wimbledon, Elkins. Might get him one or two more attacking options down the left now, Swindon. McGinlay. Sellers trying to measure his pass through the middle to Blake, but failing to do so. Kerslake. This is Horlock, Swindon's captain. Aimed towards towering figure away, Allison, but it's Bergson now. Watson. Towards a casual pass. And Culverhouse did extremely well there.
It was well played by Culverhouse.
Redeem him. Smith. Chipped in by Elkins. Fairclough just shielding it back to his goalkeeper. No real blame attached to Ward, we think, for the goal, and he's done okay today. Coming in, remember, for only his second start of the season. Fairclough. Sellers, all very casual at the back from Bolton. Taggart. Now John Sheridan. And wide of him, Bergson. Here's Green. As Bolton endeavour to string their passes together. Good ball then from Franson. Here's Blake. McGinlay lurking in the centre. McGinlay almost on the end of it. Sellers in there too. Kersley wisely sending for the goal kick.
That was a good move by Bolton. They must have held on to the ball for a full half-minute or so there, and must have been at least a 15-man move. That was very good football. Finishing up with Blake swinging it in, and McGinlay very close to it.
They haven't won away in the league since their success at Molineux at the beginning of October. Allison. Now Smith. Well, he was well positioned, but there was no sting in the shot. Phillips.
There's a little bit more confidence about Bolton, isn't there? They seem to be getting a little bit more room. They're looking for it.
Bergson. McGinlay. Clashing with Elkins, who was not too happy there with the Bolton man's reaction. Certainly went in strongly, McGinlay, but I felt he went for the ball.
I think Elkins and McGinlay saw each other coming and got their retaliation in first.
Kersley. Here's Robinson, striding purposefully forward. Kersley again. Can he service Allison and Co in the middle? In goes Allison, and it was just picked away then by Chris Fairclough. Excellent defending by Fairclough. Franson with the block. It's Swindon's throw.
Good ball in this, isn't it? Oh, and so close.
It was a vital header away by Fairclough.
It was, wasn't it?
David Kersley. Different delivery this time. Ineffective though. Now it's Horlock. On for Elkins. Slipping past Franson, but not Green. That'll be a goal kick to Bolton Wanderers, who've seen their lead in the first division whittled down by the likes of Sheffield United and now Barnsley, of course. Remember, a win today will take Bolton back to the top. Elkins, who's come on for Darras down this left side then for Swindon.
That ball's almost held up straight, isn't it, there?
Kersley. Some holding by Wayne Allison. Bolton's free kick. McGinlay after this one. Culverhouse standing firm. That was Blake. Offside. John McGinlay. Now Watson.
No question about McGinlay not being offside there.
Franson. Offside.
And Blake offside again.
Getting closer though.
Yeah, if I was Blake and McGinlay, I'd just hold back this side because the ball's going to hold up and it's going to present problems to the defence anyway. They're just a little bit anxious, Blake and McGinlay, at the moment.
Yeah, it's an easy game to play from up here, but you don't feel they're reading it too well, really.
No, they need to just stay this side of the Swindon defence, obviously. I know it's not that easy.
Just bend the runs a bit more. Kersley.
Just be a bit more aware, yeah.
Now Watson slipped on. Addison, he's onside, and he scored. Decisive finish from Wayne Addison. And Swindon are back in front. To the delight of Mike Walsh, standing in for Steve McMahon today, and I'm sure Steve, watching at home, will be out of his chair, thumping the air.
See, it was a perfect example of what we were just talking about. Allison held up his run. He held it up and he got the reward. He just made sure that he was onside. He kept himself in check. He could have easily gone forward another yard and put himself in an offside position. He didn't. It was a great example of patience, that, and finishing. Well, that's it. It's a goal. Can't argue.
17 minutes to go. Wayne Allison with his 9th of the season. And Bolton have to come from behind again. Here's Scott Green. Fairclough to McGinlay. Franson. Overhit though for Blake, who turned away in frustration.
You can see how he's held it up. He hasn't gone too early, has he? And that's a good finish.
Delivered with such power that Gavin Ward couldn't get a hand to it.
No, he knew exactly what he wanted to do there, Allison, didn't he? He was pointing, he was holding his line. Good stuff. They must feel a bit shell-shocked, Bolton, because they were definitely back in this game, and now they've got it all to do again.
Blake released by Franson. Yeah, hold off Horlock. Still Nathan Blake. Kerslake with a headed clearance. Steve stopped by Phillips. There's a foul by Allison.
No, I can't agree with Andy D'Urso there, but
I thought he
don't
just
think there was anything wrong with that. I thought he got the ball.
Well, it's his decision that counts. It's a free kick, and it's Scott Sellers. Fairclough. And Franson going in. McGinlay, and it squeezes past the post. A few Swindon hearts skipped a beat then.
Well, I don't think anybody was too sure what was going to happen there. It was not really under anybody's control. Franson finally gets it and could have gone anywhere, went wide.
But he remains a constant danger for Swindon, per Franson. Way by Taggart. No chance for McGinlay there. Little altercation with Horlock off the ball. Don't think the referee had seen it. Coe. Now O'Sullivan. Kersley. Watson, whose through pass led to the second goal. Culverhouse. He's done okay, Watson, today. Smith. Elkins. Bergson had reacted quicker than Smith there. And it'll be a goal kick to Bolton.
Yeah, they missed a bit of an opportunity there, Swindon, didn't they? They could have got the ball over earlier on and just dwelt on it a little bit too long.
Fairclough. Oh, mistake then by Mark Robinson. This is Sellers. Still Sellers. And he has wasted a golden opportunity. What an escape then for Swindon.
Yes, Sellers really should have buried this, there's no question about that. He's looked up, he's got several options, taken his own, and now he's put himself in a really great position, hasn't he? Dear, oh dear.
I think Mark Robinson was mighty relieved. He was the man who gave it away.
Yes, he gave it away, but Sellers should have done a lot better than that.
Bergson under pressure from Coe, who just gave him a little nudge. Don't think it had much effect, though.
No.
He's a hefty lad, Bergson. Probably didn't notice. Sheridan. Hooked away by Horlock. But harmlessly through to Gavin Ward. Had a spell with West Brom, Moore, also Leicester. Set out with Aston Villa in his early days. Dennis down on the bench, so looks like that injury isn't too much of a problem. Although it was clearly painful for him. Now Kent Bolton inflicts some more pain here for Swindon. Sheridan is there, and Nathan Blake and Scott Sellers.
Well, if I was Scott Sellers, I don't think I'd be hanging around there after his effort a minute ago. But no, he's taken the hint.
Swindon have left just Steve Coe upfield. Here is Nathan Blake. Took a ricochet off the wall.
Poor shot, though, wasn't it?
Allison happy to clear anywhere.
You're happy with them ones? If you're the defence, you don't mind shots like that.
Jimmy Phillips trying to deliver a telling pass for Scott Green, but Kerslake is there. Now Allison. Outmanoeuvred by Jerry Taggart. And he has located Gudni Bergson. Franson. Swindon anxious to close him down. McGinlay. I don't think his popularity has increased today, do you, Swindon fans?
It hasn't, has it?
He's not their pin-up.
Yeah, I quite agree with that as well. Quite agree with that.
Elkins was late, and some pushing going on.
I think the Elkins-McGinlay thing is, this is the second time they've had a pop at each other. They both had a go about 10 minutes ago, and I think Andy D'Urso was on that a little bit quickly, and it was a good decision. That can't argue with that.
Sellers. That was an important header away then by Wayne Allison, who's back defending now. He wants his goal to be the winner. Phillips. Now Bergson. Warlock. Watson, good control. Sheridan. Now some room for Phillips. Blake's run through the centre. Just to bring you the result of the test match there, England of course playing Zimbabwe, and the game has finished in a draw.
And it's also a lot warmer there, I can tell you that.
I think Russia is at the moment. It's getting pretty cold up here. Green, Elkins. Cover on hand in the shape of Kevin Horlock. Smith. Whacked away then by Elkins. Coe making a nuisance of himself with Taggart, who seemed to have got himself in a bit of a tangle. Green did well there to help it on to Sellers. We've got 5 up in this attack, Bolton. McGinlay with the cross. But Mark Robinson was in the way. McGinlay went down by Blake. But a routine save for Fraser Digby. Certainly seen more of the menace of Nathan Blake in the second half, playing his part in the goal. But generally, Swindon will be fairly pleased, I think, with the way they have policed him. Jimmy, you have the task of naming the man of the match, so we'll ask you to give that careful consideration.
Yes, I am giving it careful consideration.
Not for a minute.
Nobody's really had that outstanding game anyway at the moment, but we will give it some further thought.
Well, by the end of the afternoon, certainly, Jim, we want to know that.
Oh, you want it while we're still up here, do you? Ah.
Green. You better not give it to McGinlay, the crowd will go potty. Here's Sheridan to Blake. More danger for Swindon. The save, and there is McGinlay! And he couldn't accept the chance that came his way. But the danger hasn't passed. In goes McGinlay now! No offside. McGinlay and Green. And between them, they forced another equaliser.
Well, I don't know whether it was McGinlay or Green. Obviously, McGinley's... this is the McGinlay miss that we can see, and oh, he has missed that dreadfully, hasn't he?
Well, they seem to have enough cover
There's
back
Nathan
this
Blake on the ball. The ball's come across.
McGinlay.
It is McGinlay, yes.
Green was there again, but it was John McGinlay who guided in his 18th of the season with 6 minutes to go to set up a grandstand finale here. Phillips. Bergson. Good run here by Per Franson. Well, so often this season he's been the right man in the right place, and it also, again, I don't think Swindon will be too happy with the marking, Roger.
No, they won't be. I mean, there's two men fighting for it there, aren't there? Two Bolton men.
They did seem to have enough bodies back there, Swindon. But the marking was not tight enough. And for the second time, Bolton find themselves back on level terms. Good character shown by Colin Todd's team. Now they're striving for a winner. Phillips to Sheridan. Hasn't really been in their nature this season to settle for draws too often. Colin Todd said he can't really ask much more of his team except to insist they avoid self-inflicted wounds, which they have done a bit too often this season. Culverhouse trying to make an impression at the other end. Cleared by Taggart. Foul by Green on Gary Elkins. Smith to Kevin Horlock. This is O'Sullivan. And he's found his intended target there. Kerslake with a great cross in. And that was terrific defending by Chris Fairclough. Really inventive move then by Swindon. And it so nearly had the right result for them. It's not too late yet. Smith delivering the corner kick. It was Allison at the far post. It's a lively finale to the game. Jimmy Phillips slotted through for McGinlay. His touch was rather tentative though. Did be getting plenty of distance on his clearance. Coe in pursuit. Allison has won it back for Swindon. Kerslake trying to get Watson away. Some sturdy work there by Jerry Taggart, the man on the ball now, planting it forward again. But in rather tired fashion. O'Sullivan. Here's Kevin Horlock for Coe. A couple of minutes to go. Then it's a question of injury time on the watch of referee Durso. Steve Coe. Turned back into Franson though. Now Phillips. Blake and McGinlay ahead of him. Sellers to Sheridan. Green. It's spun away for the corner off Gary Elkins. Jimmy, man of the match.
I'm going to give it to, there's a number of players who've played very well today, but I'm going to give it to Kevin Horlock. I think he's been the most consistent player on the field. He's not made any mistakes. He's had a good game.
Don't think I would argue with that at all. Sellers with the corner. We're in the last minute. Over the bar from Jerry Taggart. Deflected.
Oh, it's a chance here. It clearly came off of a Swindon player.
Yeah. Sellers to try again. Digby didn't get there. Came racing out of his goal. Now will it fall here for Sellers? Played in. And Green. No, offside.
I think he's
offside
been
this time. I'll tell you what, Jimmy, he's made quite an impact, this fella.
I almost gave man of the match to Green on the basis of the impact that he's had on the match. This certainly would have made him man of the match, really. I'm not quite sure why offside was given there.
Yeah, that angle didn't really give us too much of a clue.
We'll have another little look at it coming up, but it certainly didn't look offside to me.
Very tight.
Did you? No.
But here comes McGinlay now. And that was a very timely intervention from Culverhouse.
I think you have to say that Swindon were a little bit lucky to get away with that one.
Well, the correct decision, though. I think I'm doing the replay there.
It depends on who you're supporting, of course.
Digby holding on for grim life. Now can Swindon launch one last assault here. Kersley. Accelerating past Fratson. He's in full stride. Oh, great effort. That would have been some goal from David Kerslake had that gone in. Fantastic run.
Well, he read it well, Kerslake. He's got the wind behind him. He's beaten two men. He knows that time's up. He knows all those things are happening, and he has a good poke, doesn't he? And it's a very good effort.
Into the second minute now of time added on for stoppages. The home crowd urging their team on. Kersley. Allison can't get to it. Taggart to play it away. McGinlay. Now Bergson. McGinlay. Swindon having to backpedal. This is Jimmy Phillips for Green. Phillips again. Green going forward. McGinley's in there as well. Sellers. Fratson chipping it back across. Desperate defending by Swindon here, right at the last. Phillips in for Blake. Still Blake. Green. Green again. Fratson. Well, all credit to both teams. They've really gone for the result laid on, haven't they?
Oh yes, it's been a good battle this afternoon. Neither side has laid down. I really thought that this had crowned it for Bolton. On balance, a draw is a fair result. Both teams do deserve to get something out of this match.
That is how it has finished. 2-2. Wayne Allison with the second goal for Swindon that he hoped would have won the match, but back came Bolton again with the equalising goal from McGinlay, and well, they so nearly had another one as well. One ruled out from Scott Green, who'd got the first for Bolton. A fighting display by Bolton. It's not enough to take them then back to the top of the table, but quite clearly they are going to be very serious contenders for the First Division Championship. For Swindon, well, they haven't managed to win today, but at least they've put a run of defeats behind them. They've lost, remember, 5 out of the last 6, and certainly I think they had a lot to encourage them this afternoon.